All right, good afternoon and welcome to Urban Fantasy PH. Now, while Urban Fantasy is a genre in books, I chose that to be the name of our podcast because we live in an urban society, and as writers, as artists, as creative people, we give readers and consumers wish fulfillment by way of our stories, which is in a way fantasy, but we would like to think reflective of reality. And lastly, PH, because hey, that's where we live and where we create. My name is CJ Edmonds, and this is episode 3. I know miles away from being groundbreaking, but that's the best we can do as content creators. We do them one at a time, and in that time, hopefully, we all get to build up a portfolio that speaks to people and is reflective of our own productivity. Now, today we'll be speaking to a comic book reader, artist, but now a creator with his own series called Buster. While he most definitely is a fellow creative, he started more on inking and drawing comics for other people. He worked as an illustrator on the Xenoglyphs comics, as well as the Monolith comic series for OSSM Comics. I assume that's pronounced as Awesome Comics. And also
Yes, it is.
some Marvel sketch cards. Now, from sketching other people's vision to finally creating his own, welcome to the show and welcome to Urban Fantasy PH, Mr. Peejay Catacutan. Woohoo!
Hey,
Hey! Yes,
hey,
we
hi.
are
Thanks for having me here.
on for the clapping thingy. So thanks for being here, PJ, and taking time in spite of your busy schedule. We really appreciate it. And like my previous guest, Ted Villasor, and also Kate Evangelista, I've also mentioned this podcast to you before, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And it's really a plus having you here today. And while it's in a way coming full circle, it's also a matter of doing a little bit of follow up and making sure that you commit to something that you've set your eyes on. So, as a creator, I was wondering, do you sometimes find it hard to do that, to commit to one project, and then let's say having another idea pop in your head, or let's say someone makes a casual suggestion about what you should be doing next?
Ano there are times I actually have this a list of stories already.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so
Oh,
hard
sure.
to pick and choose. I write everything down. On my phone, I have divided notes. I have like
Yes.
one, two, three, four, five,
Thank
six.
God for
I think.
smartphones.
Oh yeah, thank God for smartphones. Thank jobs for smartphones. That was
Yeah.
uh, what I what I do is I write things down like story concepts, story ideas, and there are like three of those that are actually fully formed already. That I could I'm actually thinking of writing horror stories,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a conversation with a bunch of other comic book creators recently, and I was like, wouldn't it be funny if a horror comic would be created by someone with the last name Katakutan, which
Oh
is,
yeah.
di ba?
Pwede. Pwede. Yeah,
Di
because for
ba?
those
So parang,
who are not familiar with Tagalog, takot is fear.
yeah.
The root word for that. So yeah,
So
that'll be
basically,
great.
when you say katakutan, yeah, when you say katakutan, it means to be feared. So
Yes, fear.
it doesn't get any cooler than that, you know, when you're writing a horror story. It's actually
Exactly.
comically,
So
yeah,
I wish that there will come a day wherein you decide to do a horror comic. We will be lining up to get that, to buy that first issue for
yeah. So yeah,
really.
when it comes to committing sa isang project, the thing is, ano eh, actually, when it comes to Butter, we already ironed out the next volume. It's 100 plus pages already,
Okay.
and uh, the first volume, issues 1 to 3, was released like a couple of years ago. Pa eh. So with this one, kasi, the art style is intensely different,
Hmm.
and uh,
It's not
the
as if
inks
you're gonna
are
wait
already
to
done.
the end of issue 1 before you start thinking of what issue 2 or 3 is
I'm sorry.
going to be. Yeah, and I'm glad that we're able to give attention to this,
Yeah.
to what you're creating, which is your own series called Buster. But without giving anything too much away, for those who have not read it or for those who plan to read it, can you tell
Yeah.
our viewers what Buster is all about?
Well, Buster. Oh, it's so hard. Basically,
And
someone. Oh yeah. The first issue.
issue 1.
It seems like a lifetime ago. Yeah. Nice.
So,
The story of Buster. Basically, it's um, imagine it's basically set it's in a post-apocalyptic era of
mhm.
or a war zone, formerly known as the Philippines. Like
Okay.
uh, when we tell people about it at comic conventions, I usually tell them that in this time period, all of the local Filipinos have been eradicated by this mysterious group of villains, and basically
Yeah.
they're using the country in its strategic location as a base of operations as they're waging a war against the world.
Mhm, mhm.
So,
Trip
and
bida na din
within
tayo.
and within the country, there are four foreigners. One of them is Russian, one of them is Canadian, one's American,
Mhm.
and one's Japanese. And
Japanese, yes.
they're basically trapped in the Philippines, and they're trying to wage a war within the walls of the stronghold of the villains. And
Mhm.
in their adventure, they one day they rescue someone who may or may not be Jose Rizal.
Or helpful to the war,
Yeah.
at the very
So
least.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and basically, yeah, that's the gist. That's the what do you call this? That's a good starter like story, like
Yeah,
a
that's your
pinch of it
elevator pitch.
for the first volume. Yeah.
Yeah. Before anything gets made, obviously an idea has to germinate and you ruminate about it. So I wonder,
Mhm.
what was the inspiration to create Buster?
Well, I'm I'm a I'm a bit of a frustrated Filipino. Like when it comes to a lot of things that's happening in our country. So one day I was thinking, yeah, right. Diba? So basically, I'm saying I'm
I
Filipino
believe you.
because of the thing about
Disclaimer: this
being
podcast is not subversive, so right. So please do not shut us down. We're not political.
yes,
We're just living in a
yeah,
country where we feel that things can be taken care of a little bit better and
yes,
done better,
yes,
and probably with
yes.
a little more class and finesse. So, all right, let's go on with it.
So basically, I was thinking, what if like one of our heroes, let's say if Serizal were to come back
Hmm.
in present times and see what's happening. So it started from there, and then it evolved into what if it's a post-war Philippines, and then what if it's a post-apocalyptic Philippines? Like, uh, I wanted to explore how he would react to
Okay.
what happened to us, and at the same time, I wanted to explore the extent of his genius when it comes to so many things. Like, what if a man of that level of intellect was exposed to our technology or to
Right.
technology
That's
that's greater than
wow.
ours? So you can just imagine how far a guy like that could go, diba? So
Mhm.
yeah, that's what inspired the story. It's out of frustration and curiosity when it comes to someone like Rizal. And uh yeah, that's basically how it started. And then after that I started writing concepts for it, and then started adding characters that would build the world. And I
Mhm.
wanted there to be like I wanted the story later on to become like you know how we like put people on pedestals, like create we deify people. And
Yeah, yeah.
later in the story, in volume two, actually, you will find the how wrong it would be to deify someone or uh,
To
to
hold them
miss
so
the
much
fact
in
that
high
people are
regard
people.
to a point that you
Yes,
feel perfect, right?
yes. And
Yeah.
the thing we forget about our heroes is that they're human, and every each and every one of them can change. And I'm not saying that all of a sudden someone's going to be bad in the story. It's just that I wanted the story to explore the heroism and the fact that this hero is human later on.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
you know,
I get it. I
I
get it.
basically just gave the gist of the next volume that I'm working on. So
we won't spoil too much. But the good thing about the idea, whether it's finally realized on paper or whether it's finally inked out, an idea then is everything starts with an idea, and polished or unrefined, that basically tells you or gives you a clear message that yes, I can create. Yes, I am, a content creator in my own right, even if no one has seen it or if no one has read it yet. But before realizing your own vision, or let's say carving out your own path, you were illustrating for other people, like the Marvel sketch cards that I saw online, and also your
yeah,
work for Awesome Comics. Did you always want to be an artist? Did you always wanted to be that?
yeah. At first, if we go back to when I realized that people had to have jobs when they become adults, I
Mm-hmm.
actually originally wanted to be a paleontologist.
Sorry, what was that?
I s- a paleontologist. I
Oh,
wanted to dig up
paleontologist. Okay,
dinosaur
yes.
fossils.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I, s- I
You
saw
want to be Jeff
Jurassic Park.
Goldblum.
Yeah.
Hello, Jeff Goldblum.
I saw Jurassic Park and I was like, I want to do that. And until now, like I still check out dinosaur stuff, and that's what I originally wanted to be. And then I was exposed to the arts. I started joining poster making contests.
Okay.
It was a hobby, but I never thought people could have a profession, could actually maintain a a decent living, especially
Yeah.
here in the Philippines.
Right, right. I mean, these are the kind of jobs that you don't get to see on Career Week in college or in high school.
Yeah, exactly,
They
exactly.
don't, they don't, they
So
don't, uh, they don't tell you that it's possible.
yes, so growing up, I was told to be like, why not try to be a doctor? And eventually, I was convinced. I was basically told by the entire clan to get into nursing. So I'm actually a registered nurse,
Okay,
and
well, that's something we didn't
yeah, and I
know.
was
You know.
yeah, and I'm a registered nurse, and for the first 2 years of my after college, I was working at an OR and
Okay,
ER. So, but I
I can
kept
imagine
on
the
posting
stress
stuff.
level.
I
Then,
know,
more so
I know,
now.
I know. Like I kept telling friends because a lot of them are still working in hospitals. Some of them are working for the Bureau of Fire Protection, and I was telling them like I I remember back then that we would deal with vehicular accident patients, and
The-
those were for me those are like the worst. Like the stress of it, like it's a quiet day at the ER, and then all of a sudden a bunch of people would be sent in, and then you don't know what's happening. So I could never imagine myself growing old with that profession.
with that kind of
So
stress.
yeah, sobrang especially now. So hats off to everyone working in
To all, yes,
hospitals.
to all our frontliners, you guys are doing a great
Yeah,
job. If
each
you
and
want to
every
take
one of
a
them.
break, you so deserve a break.
Yes, they do. And
Yeah.
so yeah, but during that time, I kept on posting stuff online, and um, some guy named Omar Spahi started inquiring if I wanted to make comics with him. And Omar is a real estate agent in the states, and besides that, he's really into comics. So he
Mhm.
wanted to create his own comic line of comics. So back then, all I could do was colors, and then he asked me to color some stuff, and then he asked me to design some characters for his book. So he already had a penciler and an inker. Oh, by the way, when you make comics, kasi, there are a lot of people who are doing each step. So you have a
It's a
writer,
collaborative art form.
penciler, inker. Yeah. So it's an intensely collaborative art form. So back then I started doing the design. So he saw the designs and he decided to have me as the penciler and inker as well.
Okay.
So he asked if I wanted to
A
work with
penciler's
him
job
on that.
comes first, obviously, before the inker, right? Because you won't be able to ink anything if there's nothing that's roughly
Yes,
traced or drawn. So he goes
yes,
first.
Yes. But then, yeah, he saw my designs and he decided to have me to do all of it, like pencils, inks, and colors. So I was like,
Okay.
okay. So I was doing that while also doing hospital work. And then later on, um, he wanted it to be a regular thing. So we started. It was Xenoglyphs. So he wanted it to be a regular thing. So the project got a bit of traction in California, and then we started like doing more issues. And then later on, I just decided why I could. I told him, Omar, I could just work for you full time. And so it was an opportunity to do jobs in a field that's not as stressful as the medical field because
And you
I
don't
don't
have to
think
leave
I
the
could.
country.
I'm sorry.
And you didn't have to
I'm
leave the
sorry.
country. You didn't have to
Yeah,
leave
and
the
it
country. You could stay
yes,
here. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and so I talked to him about it and we decided, yeah, I'm gonna go full time. So I left the nursing gig. That was
Okay.
2011, and later on when he started doing projects with we have books that are collaborative projects with Image Comics, Dark Horse. So yeah, currently I'm now the art director for Awesome Comics. So
Woohoo!
woohoo! That's what I do now. I still make comics with him, of course. But there are a lot of projects where I do the designs for the characters and I decide
Mhm.
what the characters will look like,
So
what
you're
will.
you're more of an overseer of what people should be doing instead of you, hunkering down and really doing the drawing, right? So you have a team under you, I suppose, and you're more of a in short, it's management now for you.
Well, I still honestly prefer that me hunkering down. I like it. I like being hands on. So
Okay.
it's just that there are separate teams. Like whenever there's a new project, he would have me design characters, and then when the characters are done and when the setup is done, or what the overall look of the book will be, I would just give it to the team, and they're gonna
Hmm.
work on it separately. And I have my own titles that I work on under Awesome Comics. And besides Awesome Comics, I do sketch art illustrations for Upper Deck for their Marvel cards, and I
Hmm.
also do cards for Perla Studios. It's an independent
You're not
card
busy.
company. Yeah, yeah.
You're not busy at
And
all.
and
Um,
recently I got to work on a cover for the upcoming Ninja Turtles book, The Last Ronin.
cool, cool.
I know it's a dream come
Awesome.
true. So
Oh,
yeah,
it is. Yeah, it is. It's certainly a dream come true. Backpedaling a little bit for Awesome Comics, you worked on two titles for them. One is
mhm,
Monomyth, of which you were the
yeah,
colorist, and the other one was Xenoglyphs, of which you were also the primary artist. As, let's
yes.
say, a colorist and artist, did you ever have a say with regards to, let's say, how characters should be written, or
Mhm.
or plot even?
With uh with Xenoglyphs, it became like a collaborative storytelling project between me and Omar. Like
Okay.
originally he would write it, I would just draw it, and then later on we got so attached to the story that both of us would be like he would write it and I would suggest stuff and he would trust me enough to like alter things even with the script. So and even with how they would react to things happening within the story. So
Mhm.
it got to a point where we know the characters uh, equally already. So he would trust me if I would change things, and he wouldn't really mind. And so that's with Xenoglyphs. With Monomyth, on the other hand, it was written by Seek Donnelly, and Seek, the way he wrote it was Seek and Gene Hoyle, by the way. Uh, the way they wrote it, it was so ironed out between the two of them. So whenever when they sent out the scripts and sent it to Eric Inaltowski, who was the who did the line art, it was
Mhm.
already ironed out. So uh, on my end, I would just add the colors in, and I didn't have really that much say about the story. when it
Okay.
comes to like some details, like small details. Like I would just suggest some stuff. What if instead of placing them here, you do this or something like that. But in terms of the storytelling, hands off.
It's something that's in pre decided on or something.
Yes,
Was
it
it
is.
also a direct jump from Awesome Comics to Chop Suey Comics for you, or was there something? Was there another journey in the interim before you being associated with Chop Suey Comics for you?
Well, the way I got connected to Shopside Comics was through BK Pena. It's he. I knew him back then when I worked for a men's magazine back then called Uno
Okay,
magazine,
all right.
and back then Bernard
Good.
was a freelance artist. Chapsoy.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. uh,
Okay, so
I knew Bernard from back back then in Uno, during the Uno days, and when he saw that I was making comics already, he was working for a publisher named Stephen D. Young, and
mhm.
Mr. Young wanted to create a comic series. He wanted to create a comic publishing company. So um, Bernard messaged me and asked if I wanted to pitch a story to Mr. Young. So we had a meeting, and I told him about the whole concept of Buster, and they decided that it's gonna be their first book. So yeah, that's how it came about.
So Buster is basically the first title released by Chop Suey Comics.
Yes.
Okay, wow, that feels like an awesome, well, it's a big amount of pressure, to say the
Yeah,
least, to be
yeah, it
to
is.
be starting on the whole line of comics for that company. But regardless of the percentage of control back then, I'm sure it feels nice to be steering and on the driver's side for a change with your own series.
Yeah.
And rereading Buster again, I can't help but wonder and feel that the first three issues are just like the first arc, and whatever succeeding issues that you have will be part of another. Is that right? Is that your intention?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Um, this leads me to ask next: Do you plot your issues, or do you write them as you feel them, and you discover the story of the arc as you go along? So for writers, I'm alluding to whether you are a plotter or a pantser. Plotter is basically you just set everything else, and no surprises along the way because you know what's going to happen next. And pantser, it's because you write by the seat of your pants, and you discover things as you go along. So which
I
one
think
are
I
you
think
when
I think I'm a bit of both. Like I
you're
already know where the story is headed. Like
a
when I
pantser?
started
Yes,
the story.
best of both
Yeah.
worlds.
Yeah, because I think there's a certain level of magic that you achieve with both. So parang
Mhm.
when everything's ironed out and you know what's gonna happen in the end anyway, you get to play with what's gonna be happening between the start and the end of the
Yeah,
story.
in the middle. Exactly. I mean, sometimes when
Yeah,
we have an idea, we know the premise, and we plot it down, and we know the ending. But how to get to that ending that's where your discovery process comes in. Who
yes,
dies, who lives, who dies or comes
yes,
back, or
yes,
will you introduce a new character into the story, or will
yeah,
someone change their hide and become the villain instead of being the
yeah.
hero, right?
You get to play with the emotions of the readers basically.
Exactly, that's true. And since you're doing the driving for the series, how does it feel to be the one calling the shots, and and existing or collaborating with another artist to bring your comic to life? Because basically, with regards to the credentials, the story and the art is by you, right? And the color assist and the lettering is by someone else, by Bernard. So how does
Yes.
it feel the time we're in? You get to be, I get to be boss.
it, I remember being asked about something quite similar.
Wait,
My my fiance asked me before when she interviewed me like years back.
wait,
Uh,
congratulations, your fiance. Hey, congrats. I didn't know
oh,
about that.
thank you. Thank
Now the
you.
world
Oh,
knows.
I got to propose to her before the whole lockdown thing.
Okay, good.
So I know, right? So yeah, I remember she asked me during an interview way back when what's so special about being an artist or
Mhm.
something along those lines. And I think it kind of sounds similar because you take charge of your own work. And
Okay.
I told her that when you're on that seat already and basically you get to create whatever you want, whether it's a painting or when you're writing, you basically become godlike in that everything's based on what you want and you can create whatever you
Mhm.
want. And in creating Buster solely on basically story and art with the story and art on my own, it feels like it's you build your own universe and you're omnipotent in that universe and what you say goes. So it's a bit of an ego trip.
Yeah, you get to be
But
boss and you get to be God.
yeah, right.
Big.
But the thing about that is there's with great power comes great responsibility. So
Yes.
when you're at that level of power within your own universe, you pretty much owe it to everyone to at least to at the very least create a good one. Like so that's how it feels. It feels you feel free, but at the same time, you feel like you owe it to people to create something great.
I agree. I agree. I mean, you can't just you know throw your cares to the wind and say that because I'm boss, I can write anything and I know it's gonna
Yeah,
sell because
yeah,
it's my work and you're supposed to like it. It doesn't work that way.
yes,
Sadly. Although the comics is in English and this month is Buwan ng Wika, where we
yeah.
celebrate our national language, did it ever cross your mind then that perhaps the comic can also work if it was written in Tagalog?
Well, yeah. Actually, I was when I started writing it, I was actually had this internal debate like, do I write it in Tagalog or do I write it in English? Uh, the reason why I chose to write it in English is well, there are a lot of characters within the story who are not Filipino.
Hmm.
So that's one, but that's just a minor part of it. I wanted the story to like instantly become understandable to anyone else around the world
Okay.
because I feel like I wanted it not to just be it's I wanted it to be a Filipino story that a lot of other cultures can relate to.
Okay. In short,
So
it's a
that's the
Filipino
reason why
story,
I
but
chose that.
you want a global audience reading it.
Yes, exactly. I
Good, and
exactly.
that's a good mindset to have. That not only do you please the local audience, but you also make an attempt to
Yes.
kind of like entice readers around the world.
Yes.
I was gonna be cryptic next with the next question, but you kind of like alluded the surprise reveal in the first issue. But nonetheless, for those who are just joining us now, in issue one, somebody important came back to help our hero.
I pretty
Uh,
much spoiled it, di ba?
it's okay. Um, but is it really a spoiler? Because we get the reveal in issue one. It's not even at the end of issue one. It's just like, after first few pages. But I was wondering, was it always that hero in particular that you had in mind to help the characters? Or did you ever entertain the possibility of perhaps could be some other hero because the character himself voiced it out? It's like, why me? I mean, there are other heroes suited to the
Yeah.
challenge and not him. So why him and not the others?
I guess besides the fact na he's like I mean I mean he's our national hero. So I spoiled it again. There
Erase.
one
That's good.
one of the reasons why it was important to be him was it's because if you would put like a military genius at the helm of a war like that, they could
Hmm.
win the war by they could the ambition then would be to just beat the enemy.
Yeah, and
The thing
justifies the
about
meaning.
him is exactly. So the thing about him is that he's someone that we could all aspire to be. So
Yeah,
that's the
most of
difference
us
between
are.
him.
Most of us.
Yeah. So parang he's like Superman in the sense na um like comic Superman. Like
Mm-hmm.
he always finds a way to do it differently that would not what do you call this? I think it would be much more relatable to the current audience if I say that he's more like movie Captain America.
Ah, okay. Yeah. All right.
Like it's like remember when they were talking about
He
when
keeps
Tony
his
Stark was like
ideals at the same time he gets the job done.
yes,
Yeah.
so
He
he would
gets
stick
the
to his
job done
ideals. Yeah,
without compromising his ideals. Yes.
yes, exactly. So that's what I wanted to do. And
Okay.
but at the same time, he's the pinnacle of what we want to be. But at the same time, I want in later volumes, I want people to realize that regardless of what his status is, he's still human. And later
Mhm.
on, we get to explore that in the books.
In the succeeding issues. I've
Yes.
also noticed that you've moved the title page a little further into the pages and not at the beginning where most people would expect comics to put it. It made me feel like watching, let's say, an episode of a TV series where they present a little
Yeah. The
action,
cold opening.
yeah, before the show's title comes out. Or unlike some other
Yes.
comics, the title page is actually at the end of the comic.
Yes.
You feel that moving that page from front or back, or if not even middle, helps with the narrative and establishes the action more quickly. And as a writer, it just sets the reader up instantly into the thick of things.
Well, the reason why I put the title like with after the cold opening is that I want to prime the readers into what to expect with the book. So I remember one of the inspirations for the way I wrote things was I think it was X Force by Rick Remender.
Hmm.
Yes, Rick Remender. And the way he wrote it was like he would set things up in such a way that you would want to know more, or you will relate to the characters, and then in a single flip of the page something would happen to them, and then you would want to know more. Like I remember reading one of the issues of X Force, and I saw it was the introduction of the four horsemen of Apocalypse,
Apocalypse, yeah.
and then yeah, and he introduced each new horseman with each page, and then you would flip it, and then it would show that they've already beaten the X Force. So there's that thrill, and when you write a story like that, uh, when they see the title page, it feels more cinematic in a way. So when they see the title, oh, okay,
I got that with issue two, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, as you're flipping the page, you feel like then, and then now, and then the title
yeah,
page, and then you want to like flip
yeah,
it further and read
yes,
what did
exactly,
they do in order to get to the now part.
yes.
Yeah. Do the images,
So
let's
yeah,
say, at times also? Oh, sorry, you may want to add something to that as well.
no, it's okay. I'm done. I'm done.
Oh, I was wondering, do the images at times come to you first, or it's the written script first? How does your work process go?
I write it first. Like I want
Okay.
the script to be solid first. I the I learned from Seek, our writer for Monomyth. He
Mhm.
was like the way he writes his scripts. I actually before I started writing Xenoglyph, I actually had a talk with him. We had like a hour, 2 hour long conversation about writing because I told him it's gonna be my first comic. So we talked
Okay.
about a lot of things like pacing, the action beats, where to put it, how to make it work like that. So from the conversation, I got the feeling that it's never gonna work visually if the script is really crappy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so might as well really iron out the script before drawing. So the
Because
way I write my scripts is
everything.
yeah, yeah. So the way I write my scripts is with each panel, I would describe it in a super OC way. Like this is what's happening in this panel. On the right side, you will see this. On the background, you will see this, and then this is
Mhm.
what's happening, and then this is what their faces should look like.
Right.
So that's how OC I am in writing, and then yeah, that's how I do things. I will write it first, create the image in my head, write it down. So when I get to it with the art itself, it's gonna be, besides the fact that it's gonna be clearer, it's gonna be easier for me. I'm not gonna be thinking about what's gonna happen anyway. So I
Mhm.
already thought of it and wrote it down. So it's faster.
And writing a script for comic is not the same way as you would write, let's say, a screenplay, or let's say you write a novel. Any Is there like a particular format that people should be following, or a standard format that's accepted when you write a script for comic?
I think screenplay. I'm not 100% sure, but
Mhm.
what I learned from Omar naman, si Omar. Omar is the writer for Xenoclips. He's my boss. He's my publisher sa Awesome Comics. Uh, the way
Oh,
he would write,
shout out
because
to the boss.
shout out to Omar's Comics. I'll shout out to Awesome Comics. And yeah,
There you
Omar kasi, he started out with comics, and then later on he started writing. He co-produced Code 8, yung movie ni Stephen Amell.
Oh, yeah.
So
I haven't. Oh God, which reminds me, I have yet to see that. I haven't seen it,
yeah,
but I've been meaning to. But
the reviews were
okay, that
so.
reminds me. Good.
So he was one of the producers for that movie. So the way he started writing his scripts, the way he wrote his scripts evolved. So from writing scripts the way we would expect it to be written, like uh, panel detail, the dialogue, it evolved pero hindi siya nagbago enough na it's unrecognizable in its format. The
Hmm.
way they wrote it, the way he writes it now is the way you would see movie scripts online. So it's pretty much the same. It's just the formatting is different, like center, just the minor things, but everything
Different.
else is pretty much the same.
Uh, for people who are not aware, when we say panel, it's basically how many. This is like one
No,
panel,
that
right?
box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one box is one panel. So it's up to you as a writer to decide how many of these would you want in one
Yes.
page. It can be four, it can be six, it could be overlapping. Like still on issue one, you have one, two, three, four, five, yeah,
Yes.
six. Yeah. So that's basically what we mean by panel. So I know that
Yes.
it might be an industry term that comic book readers may not be aware of, but just to kind of like shed a little
Yes.
clarification. So there's no right or wrong way to decide. Oh, this page should have one panel. This page should have this panel consists of a spread that
Yes.
is, I think, call it a splash page, right? Is that what you call
A
it? Like,
spread. It's basically a solid, like the entire page is just for the art. So
yeah, for the art. So let's say
yeah.
page one and page two, when
No.
you like it's when you open it up,
Oh, it's a
the
two-page spread.
page goes to the kind of, it's the whole thing
Yes.
in short. Yeah, so that's a
Yes. It's the whole
splash
thing.
page, right? Okay.
Yes.
Um, I mean, I'm sure part of the creative process. You tweak it. Sometimes you make it better. Sometimes you decide that, oh, okay, I feel that I should scale down and not do too
Yeah.
many splash pages.
Yeah.
Any plot points that you considered while writing the first three issues that you ended up like, nah, I'll save it for four, five, six.
Hmm. I actually I actually almost killed the character.
Oh no! Whoa, whoa, whoa! Is it okay to say
Yeah,
who?
but
Or
I
okay,
was in my Game of Thrones phase back then, so I was like, oh, what if we kill this character because
yeah,
people
kill
will
the Japanese
probably like
character.
this character.
I actually thought when I first read it that he was gonna go. I was like, no, he's the guy that holds the group together. You cannot kill him.
Yeah,
So so please do not go George R. R. Martin and all of us. And George
yeah.
has so
The
much
thing,
answer for with regards to killing characters.
yeah,
Kasalanan mo yan.
when I was thinking of that actually, um, there were times where it can be used, but
Mhm.
I opted not. I opted to forego killing characters because I
Good.
wanted it to be like organic and not something like for the shock value of it. So
Yeah.
I wanted to be earned. Like later on, if
Right.
you see later on in the succeeding volumes, if ever
Okay.
you see a character die, I want it. I want it to mean something. Like
To be justified, yes. Yeah. Also, apart from editing and deciding which to use and not to, part of the creative process is also managing your time. So, as running in this day and age, wherein we feel that we have to do so many things from marketing what we do to tweaking it to editing and to color grade or what other creative stuff that goes on behind the scenes in creating your comic. Can you share any time management tips for our viewers who are thinking of going at this, whether as a career or a hobby?
I like the worst person to ask for advice. Well, ito I'm gonna share my work hours.
The basic question is,
I wake
time not just for me, but not just for the viewers, but also for me, since I also suck at time management. With
Yeah,
regards to
and
creating stuff that I
I mean just to
do.
give you an idea of how I manage my time. So what happens is I wake up at around 9 or 10, have breakfast,
Okay.
work from then until I work on my awesome comics stuff until around uh 6 p.m. or 9.
Okay.
It it depends. And then between that, syempre, I have lunch, dinner, etc. And then from 9 until around 2 or 3 in the morning, I work on other stuff. Like I work on sketch card illustrations, I work on commissions, I work on personal projects. So that's where I squeeze everything else. So I work from
On
10 to
errands,
3
walk
in
the
the
dog,
morning.
talk to the fiance,
Yeah,
time for Netflix,
yes.
squeeze
So
everything.
when it comes to time, basically when it comes to time management, what I could my basically my advice is just no. I don't know if this is good advice, but just make sure that you're on a timeline where you can finish the things you commit to. Like you finish
Right.
this within this time period, and you can either have add an additional project after that, or you can just rest up, recharge.
Because if you don't have like a time frame, you feel that, oh, I can always move that further. I have
Yeah.
another hour to spare, so
Yes. Exactly.
I'm not late or whatever. And
Yes.
do you feel also that, let's say, time management skills varies depending on the craft that you're in? Like if you're a writer for comics, it will be different for you to set a time management frame or skill, as opposed to, let's say, if you're sketching or inking characters for a page. Or do you feel
Yeah.
it's for every creator, regardless of what you do within the comic book world?
I think it. Yeah, I think it differs, like from person to person. Ako kasi, I'm primarily an illustrator, so the way I do things is when I work on illustration, is I would spend like 3 days working on it, or three or whatever time, because I want it to be done within a certain uh, time period. So
Mm-hmm.
the way I write then is I would initially I would spend non awesome comics hours like plotting, and then later on I would iron it out, and then I iron it out on a piece of paper. Like page one, this is what's gonna happen. Page two, this is what's gonna happen. Page three, and then
Okay.
when I'm ready, I would spend an entire day, 2 days, 3 days, just finishing the entire thing. And if of course it's gonna be your first draft, so I'm gonna move that to the side for now. I'm gonna let it like uh, fer- ferment or something
Mhm.
in my head,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
gonna I'm
Let
gonna
it sit for a while.
yeah. And
Just like
after that,
adobo.
if yes,
Just
exactly, yeah,
diba?
just leave it there,
Leave it
uh,
there. It's simmer.
leave it there, let it simmer. And if it needs tweaking, add salt, pepper, and
And minta and all other stuff that you need. More vinegar, please,
yes,
or
exactly.
more sauce. Um, I like it that we're branching out to food now. Do you cook?
Yes,
Oh, what's your
yes.
specialty?
I have a lot. Like, I know. Ano nga ba?
Is it more Filipino food
I
than, let's say,
well,
or more?
I cook a really badass na ano tinakdakan. So, I'm Ilocano. So,
It's got to
it's
respect.
a dish that I'm proud of. And
Nice.
I also cook pastas. I cook steak. I cook like I cook everything. I think that's probably one of the reasons why my fiance said yes.
Aha. If this podcast, kind of like becomes food, centers on food, then you are gonna be the first person I need to
Oh,
talk to.
hell yeah.
Diba?
Yes.
Steak tips with PJ. Huwag kang matakot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be honored.
Oh, that would be great. You mentioned first draft. Does your fiance get to read the first draft?
No one gets to read the first draft.
Okay, no.
Well, pero ano yun I would during the period where I would just note things down like randomly. I would mention stuff to people dito sa bahay. So I would ask her like, what do you think of this idea? And she would give her insight. Um, my fiance kasi is she's a graphic artist, graphic designer siya. And
Nice.
ngayon, her job is managerial right now. So she's really good at picking out stuff that you need to tweak, even with my illustrations. Like, babe, I think this color works better with this, and I think you should change this part. And so
You just
she's
want
a
to kind
good
of like
board.
check your
Yes.
your
So
school.
I like running things by her because she's one of the very few people I trust to like have a good say about it
Sounds
in a
like the
constructive
makings of
way.
a great partnership.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You,
And I
lucky
cook.
you, not, lucky
So
you. Not creative has a person within their household to do that.
yeah,
So it's a good thing that you have your own critique partner, if you could call it that way.
yeah.
Um,
And so
for
she's good at critiques, and I'm good at cooking. So we even things out.
perfect balance. Yeah. For those who are new to the industry or probably who would want to do this for career, or they just feel that they want to listen to their muse or release their own comic, um, and since you were given also probably advice on how to begin your own comic, how about turning the tables and asking what advice can you give people who want to start out?
Hmm. Speaking technically, uh, when you're writing your comics, I think a lot of people forget this when they're starting out. And this is gonna be it's a minor thing, but it's technical. Kaya lang kasi it's important that people need to hear this if they want to
Mhm.
write with scripts. In comics, there's a limited number of panels in each page. One panel, one panel can only show one action or two, depending on what's taking place. People
Okay.
often forget that a panel is not uh, movie scene where five things are happening. So I've seen
Mm,
scripts, I've encountered scripts wherein uh, this character should be waking up, standing up, walking towards the bathroom, and then taking a shower, and then heading out and go to battle in one panel. So people
way too
forget that, but
thing in one
yeah,
panel.
panels can only show one thing.
Okay.
And if your artist is creative, they could show two things, three things the way they're drawn. But it's a thing that I see with a lot of writers who are starting out. Like
Okay.
even I forget sometimes. So
So that
that's
that's a
yun yung
reminder also
people.
for me to do that.
Yeah, it's a sobrang pet peeve ko yun. So it's something that I don't want other people to be doing. So yun
Mm,
yung
okay.
advice ko with writing scripts. Tapos, ayun, in general naman, that's a very specific thing eh. So, yeah, and very technical siya. With general advice naman is to keep reading and keep
Mhm.
practicing. It's so cliche, but it really helps. Like, keep discovering new things. Explore stories that you don't know yet. Tapos, kasi a lot of these things will inspire you and it's expected naman na it's gonna make you a better creator.
Right.
Whether you're if you're an artist, keep practicing. Um i i asked si CB Sabalski, yung current editor-in-chief ng Marvel. I asked him for advice before when it comes to coloring, and I asked him what would help you become an effective colorist, and he was like, practice with traditional media first.
Mhm.
So kasi ano eh, when you're using traditional materials, it helps you learn the theory of coloring. So start small. Like ako personally, I started coloring with alam mo yung piece of crap materials that you could buy for 50 pesos sa mga bookstores na ganun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I started with that. So parang once you get the hang of that, go to a higher level and then improve and improve and improve. And then when you're confident, that's when that's when you get bigger materials, or that's when you go digital. So that's with
So
the art
it's
stuff.
okay. It's okay to start small and and expand as you go along. You
Yes.
mentioned also digital, and these days it's perfectly okay to read comics digitally and also
Mhm.
in print. And I speak for myself that I prefer something that I can hold in my hands,
Yeah. Same here.
than
Same here.
in print. But would it be easier, let's say, for an artist to start out the traditional way as compared to the digital way, or is it the other way around?
I don't know. It depends on your taste. Because I know a lot of artists who still do it traditionally.
Hmm.
Because that's it feels better for them. And at the same
Okay.
time, when you want to be efficient, naman, you want to do it digitally. Personally, when it comes to illustrations like paintings and everything, I will forever prefer doing it traditionally
Okay.
because it feels better for me. It's a personal preference. Pero currently, I do my covers and all of my art digitally because it's faster and you get to
Faster. Okay.
tweak it more. Yeah.
More
So, at
color.
saka ano eh, yeah,
More color selections if it's digital.
yes. And it affords you ano eh, several different ways to explore how to improve your art without damaging it. So so there's that. Pero when you're doing it traditionally because it teaches you discipline,
Hmm.
that's what I think. So yeah. Walang undo button.
Yes, exactly. So if there's a wrong sketch or whatever, you change your
Yeah.
character frame. I've
Yeah.
also asked you about this before, but for those who may not know still, when can we see the next issues of Buster?
Ah, yeah, as I said earlier, ano na siya eh, we made an announcement uh, early this year or late last year that we were
I think I
planning to
was
release
hiding
it this
underneath the
year.
folder. I didn't get to hear the announcement. So I ask you to repeat again.
No, we actually shared a bunch of pages now from the next volume because we're releasing it as a volume now. Like it's not gonna be issue 456. It's gonna be volume 2 with
Volume two.
chapters 456.
Okay.
So it's gonna be 100 pages. Natapos na ni Bernard yung flats for flats is when you prepare it for coloring. So I'm gonna be
Mm-hmm.
coloring it. Tapos hopefully ah it's so hard to tell with all of these things going
I
on.
know, especially with the pandemic going on,
Yeah,
things really need a little bit of time to
yeah,
perfect it in a way. But
yes.
well, it will be both in digital and print, I assume.
Uh, we plan to.
You're gonna do it too.
We
Okay,
plan to produce it both ways.
for both ways. Okay, and maybe down the line, an entire volume that connects all 6 issues, right? A hardcover version. Yes, hardcover.
Well, meron pa siyang, ang target kasi is up to 9.
Oh, okay, all right.
Hanggang
Okay,
chapter
good.
9. So it's gonna be, ang target is 3 volumes. So hopefully we get to that point pa later on. Tapos, hopefully if all
Fingers
goes
crossed.
well, a box set for the entire thing.
Awesome.
So yeah, so that's the
One.
plan. I hope it works out. It's a the local industry right now is kind of iffy because of everything that's going on. Pero
It's true.
we're working on it.
Yeah, but as content creators, COVID or not, we still release, we still produce, we still create, we
Yes.
still draw, we still write. So that continues on. Any particular kind of reading that would help, let's say, aspiring comic book writers or artists out there that can you know enhance what it is that they're into, whether that be writing or inking.
Hmm. Um. When it comes to artists, I would recommend that they check out Loomis. What's Andrew Loomis ata yun. Yung anatomy book niya. It helps.
Okay, Andrew Loomis. Okay,
Um. Wait. I'm gonna need to
not
double check that.
not
And for
not from Halloween. It's a different Loomis altogether. So I'm sorry, I'm referencing a different thing.
oh yeah, it's Andrew Loomis. Yeah, it's Andrew Loomis. He
Yes,
has
okay.
an anatomy book. I highly recommend it. For artists, he teaches how the body functions and how to draw it while it's moving, when it's static, and all that. So it's a really great resource book if you want. Because if you're this is I had a talk with a friend of mine one time, and the difference between comic book artists compared to a lot of other artists is that comic
Mhm.
book artists need to be able to draw everything. Because it's not just we're not just drawing buildings, cars. We draw things that do not exist. So you're gonna need to learn the basics so you could expand it later on when it's required of you.
Yeah,
So start with anatomy because it's gonna be superhero type bodies anyway. And for writers, I'm not really that. I wasn't trained academically or traditionally in both writing and arts. It's
hmm,
everything I do is basically self-taught. So what I would suggest for writers is to just keep reading and
okay.
see what works. Kasi, at saka ask your writer friends. That's what I
Ask,
do.
ask your peers how do they do it,
Uh,
and why they do what they do. If in case
yeah.
our viewers would like to get to know more about you or Buster and other future projects, would that either for Awesome Comics or for Chop Suey, where can they find you online?
On Facebook, my page is Peejay Catacutan Illustration, and on Twitter, you can follow me at Peejay Catacutan. I rarely post stuff on there right now because I'm so busy, pero you can check
Mm-hmm.
it out. On
Yeah, but
Instagram, I'm at
people who follow me on Twitter can also see that I tagged you, and they can follow you back.
yeah.
So,
Thank you.
so
And on Instagram, I'm at PJ Po, PeeJayPo, PJ Po.
okay.
That's my art page. Um, you could check me out on ArtStation, PJ Katakutan, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's pretty much it.
I saw some stuff that you did in DeviantArt. Are those being updated? I know they're still there,
I'm
but
sorry,
do you still
where?
DeviantArt?
Oh, no,
No,
it's
not as much. Not
it's
as much.
I yeah, not as much as I want to. It's one of those social media platforms that I rarely ever get to go to now.
Uh-huh.
Um, and likewise, actually, in the past couple of months, because of the whole pandemic thing, I decided to just focus a lot of most of my time on working with my actual projects and not personal ones that I post online. So if you would
Hmm.
check out my Instagram, actually, I've been quite silent over there. So once I get my mojo back, maybe after in the next few days or weeks, it's gonna be
Yeah.
filled with new stuff again. Because I used to post like one piece a week or twice a week, and then it gets to you, you know. So
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, at least you're still working, in the background, and you make sure
yeah,
that you hold yourself accountable for for
yeah,
productivity and for whatever it is that you create. For those who want to get hold of Buster Comics, they are available on most comic book retailers, right?
yes. Comic Odyssey and Phil Bars. Check it out over there.
Obviously, and Phil Bar. And if they want
Support
to,
your local comic stores.
yes, yes, and if they want to, get it directly from you, they can also probably do that. If in case the stores that are close to them do not currently have it on stock.
Well, they can contact Chapsoy Comics on Facebook and Buster Comics on Facebook. They could order from those pages directly.
All right, awesome. Well, I'm going to be typing them the show notes when we are done, so at least people will be able to see and surf for themselves. And thank you so much, PG, for your time. I know you're a busy person, and you have so many hats that you get to wear. Thanks for joining us today, Fantasy PH. Till the next podcast. I wish you well. I wish you safe journeys in whatever field that you would decide to, to go on, or whatever projects that you have there in online for you. And for everyone else who joined us today, the advice is keep reading. So at least that will fuel your creativity, and that will obviously germinate and and simmer in your head, so that you get to create a wonderful and brilliant work of art for everyone to enjoy and to equally inspire every other reader that comes after you. So keep writing, keep reading, stay safe, stay creative. Namaste. Thank you, PJ. You have a good day today. Bye, everybody.